Fellas, today we're going to be doing another prediction video and we're going to be predicting every UFC champion by the end of 2024. Now, I'm confident that I know who's going to be champion by the end of 2024, but we've got to realise something. UFC recently has been crazy. I mean, we've had Strickland beat Adesanya, we've had Dricus du Plessis beat Rob Whittaker, we've had so many upsets this year, Sean O'Malley and Sterling, and at this point, it's hard to predict this sport, but I'm going to be trying to predict every UFC champion by the end of 2024. Please let me know your thoughts on who's going to be champion and let me know if you agree with, but listen, we're going to stop the waffling. We're going in there with the heavyweight division. Tom Aspinall. I believe Tom Aspinall will be heavyweight champion 2024. John Jones knows I exist. I will beat John Jones in Paris. He never said that. He said he's going to beat Cyril Gane in Paris and then go fight John Jones. But either way, I think Tom Aspinall is going to be heavyweight champion. He's got everything going for him. It's definitely between, for me, Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich. It could be Cyril Gane, but I'm writing him off. Because he's had 2 title shots now and he's lost them both. So I'm going to go with Aspinall or Pavlovich. I think he beats Cyril Gane if they fight. I think he's got too much of a grappling edge against Cyril Gane that Cyril Gane's just not going to beat him. And I think if he was to face someone like Pavlovich, besides somebody like Jones, who's probably going to retire after UFC 295, I think Pavlovich will lose to Tom Aspinall, but it will definitely be a difficult fight because we've never really seen... Like, the one time we've ever seen Pavlovich have to deal with grappling is also the fight that he lost. So I'm confident that Tom Aspinall, I think he's got a good fight IQ. So I don't think he's going to end up getting chinned like a Curtis Blazewood. I think he's going to be champion. He's very balanced as well. He can do it on the feet. He's very, very fast on the feet. I think he's the fastest heavyweight in the division. And he's got the shortest fight time in the UFC. He's always finishing people. He's got genuine power, genuine speed. And the only thing that worries me is his chin. He always leaves his chin up in the air. And a guy like Sergey Pavlovich steamrolling you, it's probably not the best thing to happen. But I'm going Tom Aspinall for heavyweight. Like I said, can win in multiple ways. He can grapple you to a victory. He can strike you to a victory. Whatever he wants to do, he will do. I mean, we've seen it against people like Volkov. He already beat Spivak and he did it faster than Cyril Gane did. He finished Volkov in the first round. And look at where Volkov's at now. Volkov's on a 3-fight finishing streak. Is it 3-fight? I think it's a 3-fight finishing streak right now. So I think Tom Aspinall is going to be champion by 2024. I think he will fight for the belt, and yeah, I think it will be Tom Aspinall here in the UK. Light heavyweight, I'm going Magomed Ankalaev. Now, I don't want him to be champion. Wouldn't it be cool if by the end of 2024 we could have an Alex Pereira as a champion or a Yuri Prohaska? And I know one of them are going to be champion by the end of this year, but it would be so much funner for the division if one of those were champion. But I think it's going to be Magomed Ankalaev. I think what's going to happen is obviously he's going to be fighting Johnny Walker at UFC 294. I think he beats Johnny Walker and then he's probably going to get an immediate title shot. Now, I'm not saying the UFC want him to be champion. Of course, the UFC want people like Yuri and Alex to be champion, but I feel like he's going to get to the point where he deserves a title shot. And he's only ever lost to Paul Craig. And in my opinion, if you lose to Paul Craig, that kind of counts as a win because look at Paul Craig's record. Everyone he beats, or some of the best. I mean, he beat, what was it, Jamal Hill, Ankalaev, Nikita Krylov. He's always beating these like sick people. Couldn't beat Johnny Walker though. Either way, he's got underrated striking as well as Magomed Ankalaev. He's got some power in his hands. He's got really underrated striking. People just view him as this Dagestani wrestler that's extremely one-dimensional. When he can strike, I'm not saying he can outstrike people like Yuri and Alex, but I don't think Alex will be able to deal with Magomed Ankalaev's grappling. I think it will be Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev for the belt because I've got Alex beating Yuri, but I think Ankalaev's grappling will be too much for Pereira. I mean, Pereira was struggling against Blachowicz, and Blachowicz is, listen, I'd say he's balanced, but he's more of a kickboxer. Magomed Ankalaev is a way better grappler than Blachowicz, so I think Magomed Ankalaev will be able to wrestle himself to titles, and I think he'll be the light heavyweight champion by the end of 2024. Then in the middleweight division, this division has been moving a lot. Obviously, we have had Pereira, then Adesanya, now we've got Strickland, but I actually think Dricus will be champion by the end of 2024. I think they're going to do Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. Now, unless the UFC demand an Adesanya rematch, hopefully they don't. I think Dana White's kind of gone off the idea because of how many people were kind of like showing that they didn't want that fight to happen. So I don't think it will happen, but I think it has to be Dricus versus Strickland. I don't know. I don't really I mean, I made a card builder yesterday, and I think this would be a good fight in Aussie with the Volkanovski versus Topuria card, but I don't mind where it is. I just want this fight to happen. Imagine, it'd be such a fun fight. We've got Strickland, who's on a 2-fight finishing, no, not a finishing streak. He didn't finish Adesanya, but he's just beaten Adesanya. Dricus has just beaten Robert Whittaker. It's the fight to make. They're the new guys running the division. We need to see this fight, man. And I think Dricus will beat Strickland. I think he's got more tools to win. He looked very impressive against Whittaker, and I think he'll beat Strickland. I think he could even finish him if he wants to, because he's got some serious power in his hands. And yeah, he should be fighting for the belt next, and I think he can defend against someone like Jared Cannonier as well. And he's a difficult fight for most contenders. And before everyone starts bringing up Adesanya, I don't think Adesanya's going to be the middleweight champ again, unless they give him an immediate rematch, which I don't think they will. Adesanya's probably going to take some time off. He probably won't be back again until like mid-2024, maybe even early 2024. And even then, he's still got to fight and then wait off again. So I think by the end of 2024, Dricus du Plessis will be champion. Very impressive. He's got a really good record as well. I think he's only lost twice, and he's finished most of his fights. So I think Dricus will be middleweight champ. In the welterweight division, you're all going to hate me for this, but I think it's going to be Belal the Bum Muhammad. He's just going to wrestle Leon Edwards to a decision. He's going to wrestle him to a decision. It's going to be a boring fight. I think it'll be very similar to Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 2, excluding the head kick, in my opinion. I do think he'll become champion. I do think Leon Edwards will beat Colby Covington, but I do think Belal beats Leon. I can just see, because Leon's not the most, I don't know how to say it. He's a good striker. He's a S-tier striker, but he's not like, I feel like if you, I can definitely see Belal Muhammad somewhat like doing all right on the feet against him, because first of all, his striking's improved significantly. I mean, we saw it against Sean Brady, we saw it against Gilbert Burns. I feel like, I'm not saying he's going to outstrike Leon Edwards. I do think obviously Leon Edwards will outstrike him, but I don't think Leon Edwards will be able to do enough on the feet that's going to put Belal out of there. And then I think mixing up the striking with the grappling, I think Belal Muhammad's just going to wrestle him for 5 rounds. I really do think, especially with Khabib in his corner and the improvements that he's been making. I think he'll fight for the belt, and unfortunately, I think it'll be a 5-round boring decision fight. But I do think Belal Muhammad will beat Leon Edwards for the belt, in my opinion. I don't really want to talk about this because nobody wants Belal Muhammad to be champion. But I do think he'll be the... I mean, he's probably going to get a title shot next, let's be honest. He's just beating Gilbert Burns. He deserves a title shot. I mean, that fight was kind of the #1 contender fight, so I think he should definitely get a title shot after Colby. But I think Belal Muhammad will be champ. I really do. He's looked very impressive in his recent fights, as boring as they've been. So I think Belal will be champ. Then we have the lightweight division. I think it's going to be Volkanovski from Australia. I think Volkanovski will be the lightweight champion by the end of 2024. I think he beats Islam in the rematch. His grappling will have improved a lot. And now that's not to say that Islam hasn't improved. I mean, we haven't seen him since the Volkanovski fight. But I think he will have had more to improve than Islam has. I think we already saw in the first fight that he can deal with Islam's grappling. I'm not saying Islam couldn't grapple with him, but he can deal with the grappling of Islam. And some people even thought that in fact, a lot of people thought that Alexander Volkanovski won that fight. I think I don't think he'll finish Islam, but I do think he'll pick up a decision win over Islam. And that's assuming that Islam's going to be champion. Maybe it's Charles Oliveira, but even if Charles Oliveira's champion, I think Alexander Volkanovski can put him out of there. I think Alexander Volkanovski's fight IQ will be enough to kind of not fall for the submissions like other people have. And I think when it comes to the striking, unless there's like an insane reach difference between Oliveira and Volkanovski, I think Volkanovski pieces Oliveira up on the feet, unfortunately. So I'm going Volkanovski. I truly do believe. And before he gets that, obviously he's going to fight Ilia Topuria and clear out the featherweight division. And I think he's going to beat Ilia Topuria. Unless Topuria sleeps him later on in the fight, I think Volkanovski's going to beat Topuria. He's an S-tier striker, probably the best striker in the UFC right now, and he's an A-tier wrestler as well. We saw him, he was able to but he was able to kind of avoid the grappling domination of Islam Makhachev. He was able to out-grapple Yair Rodriguez. I think Alexander Volkanovski will be lightweight champ, and that leaves the featherweight champion kind of open for people. And I think the champion at the end of the year in the featherweight division will be Max Holloway. I think he's got a fight booked with Josh Emmett in December, which doesn't really make sense because he's going to beat Josh Emmett. He's going to be on a 3-fight winning streak. But yeah, I think after Volkanovski beats Ilia Topuria, he's going to give up the featherweight division. And obviously, because I predicted he's going to be a lightweight champion, I think he's going to leave the featherweight belt behind. That's his division. He's cleared it out. And I think he'll start to try and make a name for himself in the lightweight division. Whereas Holloway, he's still around. He's ready to fight for a belt. I mean, he's just come off a knockout win over Korean Zombie. I think he's fighting Josh Emmett in December. Earlier this year, he fought Arnold Allen and beat him. So I think he's going to beat Max Holloway. I do think Ilia Topuria could beat Holloway, but I don't think that fight will happen, because if Ilia Topuria loses to Volkanovski, I don't think they're going to give Topuria an immediate title shot against Holloway. I think they're probably going to give him to somebody like Arnold Allen. And Yair Rodriguez, by next year, I think he will have had a fight, and I think they'll end up doing Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez 2 for the belt, and I think Max Holloway will come out on top like he did the first time. So yeah, I truly believe, unless somebody like Topuria was able to finish him, which I'll talk about in a different video, but I think Max Holloway, I think he's the best featherweight in the world, excluding Volkanovski. If Volkanovski didn't exist, if the bald-headed Australian didn't exist, Max Holloway would be champion. It's as simple as that. He is the definition of kind of the second best in the division, and I think when Volkanovski's gone, it will be Holloway. So I'm going Holloway by the end of the year in 2024. Bantamweight, I'm going Merab. No one wants him to be champion, let's be honest. No one wants Merab to be champion, and the only thing that puts doubt in my mind is that if he starts sucking up to Sterling again, and he just kind of refuses a title shot because Sterling's going to be fighting for the belt, if he does that again, that's going to be really irritating. Hopefully, Merab is, he's going to fight for the belt soon. I think he'll have to have another #1 contender fight, probably against Sandhagen. That's actually a pretty difficult fight for Merab, let's be honest. I think Sandhagen's a pretty difficult fight for Merab, but I still think Merab would find a way to win. And then he's going to have to end up fighting either Marlon Vera or Sean O'Malley for the belt, and Sean O'Malley would get ragdolled by Merab. I'm sorry. Listen, I know I picked Sterling to beat O'Malley. I'll agree. I mean, I've literally done it on video, but I think Merab ragdolls O'Malley. And when it comes to Marlon Vera again, I think he beats both of them, and I think we're going to have Merab as the champion. The only two people I can see giving this guy a problem is Sterling, who he's never going to fight because they're best friends, and Umar Nurmagomedov, who's not going to get a title shot by 2024 because he's super inactive and he refuses to fight and he always pulls out of fights. But I think he's going to use his wrestling and his cardio to defeat everyone, and I think Merab will be champion by the end of 2024. And yeah, I think he'll be champion. I'm not saying he's going to stay champion, but I think by this time next year, he will be champion. I think he would have fought for a belt and he would have won. UFC are probably going to try and avoid giving people like him a title shot because they want O'Malley to be champion, but either way, I've got it being Merab. And in the flyweight division, I think it's going to be Pantoja again. I don't think he loses the belt. It's already been announced he's going to be fighting Brandon Royval at UFC. I'm pretty sure it's 296 as the co-main event, and I think he beats Royval. He's a very good fighter, is Alejandro Pantoja. He's a fast starter. He's got very heavy hands for a flyweight, and he's got insane Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's only going to get better from here. He just had a massive fight with Brandon Moreno. I think he beats Brandon Royval. I do think he beats Brandon Royval. I think he's going to secure that victory, and then he'll end up probably fighting Brandon Moreno. Moreno's probably going to have to fight, I don't know, who's he going to fight? Amir Albazi? Kai Karat Manelkat maybe? I don't know who he's going to have to fight, but Moreno's probably going to win another fight, and then they're probably going to try and do Royval versus Moreno 4. Listen, not Royval, Pantoja versus Moreno 4, and listen, Moreno's lost 3 times to this guy. I don't see him winning again. I think he's only going to improve from now. He's Pantoja, and I think Pantoja will be champion by the end of 2024. And if they book him against Albazi, he's definitely beating Albazi. I'm sorry, but yeah, that is who I believe will be champion by the end of by the end of 2024 in every UFC weight class. Please let me know your thoughts on this, and yeah, thank you for watching.